Scientists are saying the deadly Ebola virus could soon become a treatable and even preventable disease. 4 drugs have been tested on patients in the Democratic Republic of Congo and 2 show impressive results. Researchers say more than 90% of people who are infected with Ebola can survive if treated early.
We now have a vaccine which is highly efficacious. We have treatment which really shows good data.
The Ebola virus is transmitted through contact with bodily fluids, and symptoms include severe weakness, diarrhea, and internal bleeding. Until now, 90% of people who became infected died. Health officials say the new drugs will be given to every one of Congo's Ebola patients, where a current outbreak has killed nearly 2,000 people. Even with the new Ebola treatment, there are still challenges in the fight against the outbreak. To talk about that and what's ahead for medical professionals in the Congo, I'll bring in Dr. Lenora Saxinger. She is an infectious disease expert at the University of Alberta, and she joins me from Edmonton. Doctor, this is being called an Ebola cure. Is that a fair description?
Genuinely it is. It's pretty historic to have a response rate that high in early infection. It's legitimately a big deal and the best news we've had for Ebola since the vaccine, really.
Okay, what is it about this treatment that's different from the others?
We had known that monoclonal antibody treatment showed promise with the trials from the ZMapp molecule, which was used as the standard of care in the trial, that they just stopped early. But these monoclonal antibodies, the 2 arms had different monoclonal antibodies that actually perform much, much better and really increased the survival rate dramatically. So the survival rate was the mortality rate dropped to 10 to 30%. And the usual mortality rate of Ebola is in the realm of 75 to 90%. So that's incredible news. And the other piece that was really interesting was how the patients who presented earlier had a much better chance of survival. So that's a really notable finding.
Okay, and so it replaces one of the vaccines that were, and you alluded to this, developed here in Canada.
That's right. The ZMapp molecules, I think there's 3 monoclonal antibodies in it, and a lot of that work had been done at our National Microbiology Lab, and that really kind of paved the way for the study of ZMapp and then this study with the new molecules included. And so that's a really big feather, I think, in Canada's cap, really.
Oh, so take us through how it affects a patient. These new drugs affect a patient who is suffering with Ebola symptoms.
Right, so until now, treatment for Ebola has really been based on supportive care. And with the monoclonal antibodies being used especially early, what they really do is they block the virus from continuing to infect new cells in the patient. So you don't have the catastrophic inflammatory effects and multi-organ system failure from uncontrolled virus replication. And because you're actually blocking the virus from entering the cells in the first place optimally, you're basically lessening the peak of the infection, and the actual amount of virus the patient is able to manufacture also drops a lot. So it should also improve the infectiousness of patients. Okay. It basically shuts it down.
Okay, pills or an injection?
I believe that the ones in study are injected. I actually hadn't looked at their protocol, but monoclonal antibodies are most commonly used by injection.
Okay, and how quickly does a patient have to get access to it?
They haven't done a full report yet, but based on what they were releasing, it looks like within the first few days of infection would be the optimal time to get treatment, because that's the phase where most patients still have a fairly low viral load in their system. After the patient has kind of reached a high viral load state, you wouldn't expect that you'd be as effective in changing the course of the infection, and that's in fact what they saw. It still was helpful, and so I think they'll still be offering it to all patients, but I think they need to get the word out that people should come in earlier for the best response.
Okay, but there is the challenge for the DRC. What are the challenges that lie ahead in getting this cure into the DRC?
It's an incredibly challenging environment, and there's reports that there's widespread mistrust by the public that prevents them from seeking care. And so really a lot of the issues will be improving the health infrastructure in a place that's very chaotic to be able to deliver the treatment. But they already have treatment centers, and they were able to do a trial, so that seems very promising. But I think the bigger piece will be getting news of this success out so that people will not stay at home when they get sick, because if they stay at home and they become ill and die at home, they're very likely to infect their family and friends and caregivers. And so that kind of promotes a cycle within the community. So that's going to be, I think, the biggest piece, is regaining the trust and getting people in for the treatment. But I think they're going to have built-in ambassadors. Once they start having people successfully treated and leaving hospital, I think it'll be a very visible success. And so I'm really hopeful this will make a big difference.
Dr. Saxinger, we saw pictures today on Reuters of a mother and her daughter walking away after being cured for this. So obviously, this is a news story that, and probably the use of social media, I would guess, to get more and more of these stories out so people can see it. But what is the source of the mistrust?
You know, I think that we live in a world that's really fueled by conspiracy theories, and it seems, and I'm not an expert, but from what I understood, there was a lot of conspiracy theories going on around, you know, people basically being used for guinea pigs, people making money off these treatments. And so I think it's the usual conspiracy theory kind of just transported into a Congolese setting or a DRC setting, and it's become quite pervasive. And so I think that there's many different layers of mistrust of, you know, governments and medical people, and it's going to be a bit of work. But as you pointed out, I think social media might end up being the key, because the visible success is huge. It's going to be a game changer, I think.
Yeah, this is not uncommon, as you say. I remember running into a nurse who had worked in Haiti during the height of the crisis there, and the Canadians and Americans had worked together to bring fresh water to this particular community, and she told me that no one would drink the fresh water, even though they were dying for it, because they were afraid of what was being placed in it by foreigners. So they each went up to it and drank it so the community could see that it was okay, and then people went and drank the water. It's shocking how much mistrust there really is on the ground.
There really is, and the ways to break it down, I think, need to be worked out. But the fact is, this is a life-saving treatment, and I think that ultimately it'll kind of swing the pendulum back. And people will see that there's a reason to get treated and a reason to trust. Because until now, what people were seeing was, if you got Ebola and you went into a treatment center, most people did not come out again. And so I think this will be very exciting.
All right. Dr. Lenora Saxinger is an infectious diseases expert at the University of Alberta, and she joined me from Edmonton. Doctor, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.